Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Friday. Don is here. I'll come back to Don in a minute. I've got a man like Staffy with me on the show today. Big up yourself, bro, with the matching hat and hoodie. Looking fresh, looking slick, ready to go. And we haven't got Don with us today. We haven't got Don with us. We've got superstar, famous Don. Fresh from SDS, doing these things. You know what I thought was really funny? Obviously there'll be a crossover. Some of our audience will be the same. But I was like, I saw people fuming at you. Who's this guy? What's he chatting? I was like, yeah, you guys don't know about Don. I was laughing watching their reaction to you going, yeah, Don's not saying anything that's overly outrageous, but they've never met you. So I got it, man. Well done. Brilliant show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you, man. You know, Terrace, everyone knows I started mainly on the Terrace, so it's mad. It was mad being there. Big up Terry.
You're saying your Terrace Academy, La Masia and shit.
Well,
yeah, we're a part of it, bro. We're a part of it. I saw you saying on Three Facts, Terry, boy. We are. We are
a Terrace Academy, I'll tell you that.
But Leah's, I mean, in terms of, he was at uni doing his thing, but it was Friday night on the Terrace and my match reaction shows in the old studio. Like, he was doing that ever before Sharky knew who he, no disrespect, like he's killing it at Leah's. But like, yeah, Leah's was someone that we helped at the beginning. Even Abs who's on the show, like Abs was someone that did a lot of stuff there. Load of people, man. We are like the academy. Even Mark Goldbridge, we helped start. Like, that's the maddest bit. Look what that motherfucker's doing. Do you see him digging me out the other day on my own show, saying this? I've got more chance of being cancelled than ever getting to 1 million subs.
No. You're talking about Mark. I did see that clip.
Yeah.
I heard what you said, and he was like, "You're technically closer to no subs than 1 million." And he is factually true. Until you get over 500,000, he is right.
It's true. On basis my own idiocy. Well, not idiocy. The rounding up thing. If you're 5 or above, you round higher. If you're lower, you round down. So yeah, if we're gonna round it up to the nearest million, I'm nearer to 0 than I am 1 million. This is a mathematical fact. You can't deny it. But
Yep.
Loads to talk about today, people. We're speaking about United's takeover with the UAE. We're speaking about Saka. Is he back to his explosive best? We're going to be talking about Caicedo. I need to get Don's view on the week-long debate about who the best central midfielder in the Premier League is. And I already know who Don thinks, but I need to get his views. And, of course, Staffy's. Plus, the slots new deal has been re-reported again today. Very close to happening. An extension on the remaining 2 years. And, of course, we want to get the boys' view on that as well. But let's start with the Man United news. I want to start with the United news. I want to start with the information that's been doubled down on today by Turkey Al Sheikh about a consortium from the UAE. And people get weirded out of this. If it's a consortium, does that mean they don't have any money? It's like, bruv, it has to be a consortium from all those countries because they're all essentially connected to the royal families of each country. They have to create a consortium so they comply with rules. But reportedly, there's a group in deep negotiations with the Glazers to buy the football club. And Turkey has doubled down on this, saying it's true. There's a few media outlets now saying that there's discussions and there's a potential plan going ahead. None of the major journalists have completely shut it down yet, which does give me a little bit of hope. But how do you view this, Staffy? Overall, is this something you're excited about? Are you concerned about the way the news has come out? Do you think we're being taken for a ride? What was your gut telling you about this news?
Well, first of all, I was on the phone with Don last night, and he had no idea that happened. And I was like, no, it didn't happen. He was like, no, it's fake. I was like, bro, Turkish Sheikh tweeted that. He has no reason to sit here and clickbait. He's not like us. He's not looking for Twitter engagement. The guy has like 7.5. Well, he had 7.5 million followers by the time I saw it. And I saw it and I was like, wait, let me click on his account just to make sure this is the same guy. And for people who don't know him, I think he's the minister of sports in Saudi Arabia. I mean, when you talk about rich people, I feel like this guy, I always feel like I see him involved in anything. WWE, boxing, UFC. He's just involved in every sporting event that occurs in that region, and especially in Saudi Arabia. And for him for me to see that, I was just very confused at first. I was like, wait, what correlation does he have with this? But then he's just gotta educate yourself a little bit about the region and his involvements in sports and in entertainment in general and all that stuff. And even though he did come out the next day and said, just to clarify, I'm not the investor, neither is the investor from my nationality, it comes out that it's a Emirati consortium, as you said. And, you always say that, Terry, and I mean, it should be common knowledge anyways. There's not a lot of billionaires that exist in this world, so they all know each other. If anything major that big happens in that region, whether it's a Qatari takeover or Emirati or Saudi, they'll all know, bro. They all speak to each other. They all know that what goes on, and if anything goes on in that region. And for him to come out and leak that, I don't think he has any reason to be lying. And as you said, the fact that no one came out and denied it right away or shut it down, I think to me that was bigger than anyone else coming out and speaking. Because sometimes they say silence is bigger than words or stronger than words, and that's how I took that silence. No David Ornstein, no Ben Jacobs, no what's his name, Fabrizio Romano. No one from the bigger outlets come out and said, yeah, this is absolute bullshit. And there's no reason for anyone to come out and say it anyways, because I do believe it's true. Now, whether it happens or not, obviously, to answer your question, because that was your initial question, am I excited? Hell yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, I'm happy, and I hope it does happen, because it feels like we're getting a second chance at what we failed at the first time. Whether you think Sheikh Jassim was AI, like they were saying, or maybe he's not. Yeah, remember that? Like they were like, has everyone ever seen him in public? All the stuff that happened, whether his funds were verified or the bid that they were about to launch, was it real or not? All that bullshit. Seems like we have a second chance to get all this to happen again. And listen, we've already seen what Emirati Takeover does for a football club, especially in the Premier League, when they took over a much smaller club in Manchester City back in 2008. And they did that. Now, from my belief, that was, well, not my belief, from my knowledge, that was more of the Abu Dhabi. If you guys don't know what the United Arab Emirates is, it's 7 Emirates. One of them is Abu Dhabi, which is the biggest one. I believe this consortium would be more out of Dubai. So it would be, they're from the same country, but not exactly the same people. But if we get anything close to what Man City had, we're in for good times, because these guys, not only are they rich, they really do care for what they invest in. They like to run their businesses the best way. And I'll be honest, for how rich they are, I don't think they're trying to take over Man United in the aspect of like, oh, we just want to make more money. These guys are way too rich already. I'm not saying they're going to take over and say, oh, let's just lose money and all that shit. No, that's what I'm saying. But I believe their best interest in this takeover at United would just to make them a great club again, to just be running one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in the world. And, you know, just take pride of what they're doing with this club. Because if you look at Sheikh Jassim's, sorry, not Sheikh Jassim, Turkish Sheikh's tweet when it came out, he said, I heard about the investment or and he was like, I hope that the new investor is better than the old ones, which just shows you already what his intentions are, because it seems like he's a United fan. But if the people that want to take over are anything near as I mean, have any similar interest as he does, which is basically saying, I hope they make the club good again, then we'll be in good hands, man. I hope it does happen, though.
I'm going to come to you in a second, Don. Just as it's United, I just wanted to add something on that. Simon Stone.
Yeah, we want to hear your opinion, obviously. You're a United fan.
Yeah. I mean, look, Simon Stone kind of played it down yesterday, and there's been a few people, including Jacobs, that have said Man United have denied all knowledge. But then you have to read into it more. That's Ineos's response. And Ineos do have no knowledge of this because Ineos won't be consulted. There is a drag-along clause that has nothing to do with Ineos, in the sense of, if us three right now, I won the Euro Millions, won 100 million, I stuck it in some crypto, and now I've got 10 billion. If we go, guys, this will go, you know, I know I've got 4 billion, Staffy's got 5 billion, and so's Donald. We go, we're going to buy Man United. Theoretically, we could knock on the Glazers' door and say, there's 5.5 billion. Will you accept the bid? If they say yes, we then trigger it. Ineos just get their cut. And they can't stop it from going through because of the drag-along clause. So when people have said, oh, no, Simon Stone and others have said, United have said they have no knowledge of this, that's because the people currently running Man United day to day, the board, the CEO, Ineos people, and the UAE's consortium have no need to contact them. It's not even a disrespect thing. If you want to buy United today outright, you still have to go to the Glazers because they hold the control on that. So, and listen, a few people have said, but Ineos be pissed off. I did the numbers based on what they've invested and what they spent on the club. If 5.5 billion comes in, they walk away in 18 months making £250 million profit. I think they'll be all right, if that makes sense. You know, imagine making £250 million profit in 18 months. And they haven't done that much. Well, they've done bits, but there we go. So, yeah, look, I'm excited about the prospect of it. But I have to say, boys, my feet are so firmly on the ground, and my attitude, I don't know, we don't know who it is from the UAE yet. So one thing I don't want to do is go, I'm happy with whoever it is. We might find out who it is and look at their track record and go, fucking hell, we don't want them, right? That could happen theoretically. I will give, if this goes through, they'll get the same treatment from me that Ineos got, which is it's going to take a good few years to fix this. I'm going to give you time. I'm going to, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make it a problem. That'll be a problem, but I'm going to give you some time to fix it. The one thing about somebody from that region of the world buying it outright is you would expect the debt gone. The debt being gone means you can speed up that process of getting better, because if we had no transfer debt and we had no bank debt, it's likely in the last 3 windows that Ineos have had, we might have spent 300 to 400 million pound more due to our income. Therefore, you can buy the players you need quicker. So you should speed that process up. But I need to keep my feet on the ground because, they say like the hope kills you. I don't want to get too excited about this. What I'm really waiting for is an Ornstein update, a Fabrizio, maybe something directly from the Glazers where they say we are in conversations with potential new buyers. I think that will then change everybody's mood. But what I will say about the Turkey Al Sheikh is I know who he is. I watch boxing. I don't watch the WWE, but I know he's involved in that. I've watched a lot of the boxing events that he's put on. I've listened to him speak about sports in the past. Comes across to me like a very genuine guy that loves his sports. What they've done with Riyadh season, if anybody's watched any of the events connected to it, they're amazing. The first tweet, maybe it could have just been a bit tongue-in-cheek. He heard a rumor. The second update where he doubled down, you're like, this ain't someone messing around. This is something he knows. I know he's not looking for credibility. He's not looking to be in the know, so it isn't someone clout chasing. But equally, he is a Man United fan, and I don't think he would have put out a second tweet if this was just bullshit. Whether it happens or not, because the one thing with the Glazers, they could get offered 6 billion today. It's $500 million over their asking price. Say yes, and then a week go, no, we want 8 now, and then it all falls apart because they're fucking greedy bastards. But overall, I think there's some credibility to it. I hope it happens because it could be the game changer that we need. Removing that debt is the biggest thing, and it appears this consortium want to do it.
Yeah, but I haven't actually read into it then, Terry. Like, what is this then? So is it because like similar to Chelsea, right? Chelsea have a consortium with like Todd Bowley, you've got Clear Lake, you've got there's a guy called like billionaire called like Weiss in there as well, who's kind of part of that consortium. Are these guys trying to buy out the Glazers, or are they trying to basically buy their way into the club and make a bit of a board, like a board?
If you read into the tweet, for him to say, I hope they're better than the old owners, it just shows me that's going to be more than just a minority investor. Because I thought about that too. I was like, but why would he say, I hope he's better than the old owners? And I feel like that kind of gives it away. So it's not a confirmation, but you can kind of read, you can understand from.
But then if you can read it another way though as well, because Ineos have come in and the Glazers are in charge, but there's not really much heat on them because Ineos are the ones that are in charge of all the footballing operations. So these guys could come in and Glazers could still be the top dogs, but they could have control of football operations themselves. But obviously Glazers still own the club.
So are you suggesting the new people are going to be just another Ineos where they come in, take minority, but maybe they'll run the football? Because I don't think that's what
I haven't read into it to say. I'm asking you.
No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. Because if that was the case, number one, why would the Glazers do that again? Number two, I'm pretty sure when the takeover happened, well, not the takeover, I shouldn't say that, but when the minority purchase happened 18 months ago, whenever it was, and they already agreed that the minute we take over that whatever stake that they took over, now we're going to be the ones who are running the football operations. I don't think they could go back on that unless a complete majority sale was done, because now that takes you out of being the big dog, basically. Just the Glazers.
And I'd have to read the clause again, but the drag-along clause, I think, only comes into play if it's a full purchase. And I say that I have, in some of my businesses, I have drag-along clauses that I'm very comfortable with because the people that, in one of the estate agents' businesses I part own, the people that invested into us, they're part of a much bigger portfolio. And my plan is that if someone comes in to try and buy their entire portfolio, and like a massive real estate company, we kind of get swept up in that. And there's an opportunity to go, how much for my business? Take my money. But they're out there kind of, I ain't got the time to go out there and try and sell my business. but they're kind of doing it on my behalf. And I do that with a few things that I do. So drag along clauses are very, very normal, but typically therefore a drag along for the sale of the whole company as opposed to the sale of some shares. But why is it a consortium? I mean, you have to, I want to be careful how I say this, but I'm just gonna have to say it. I'm only going by what I've been told by people from the Middle East and people like Hassan as an example. Everything in those countries, all the businesses, all the major banks are all owned by the royal families. Am I pretty accurate in saying that, Staffy? That most things, if you go, although PIF own 85% of Newcastle, in reality, PIF is owned by the royal family. But they kind of create companies and consortiums to sort of not hide it because it isn't dodgy, but it's a way of separating it. But in reality, it's still owned by the royal family, but they have to create it in a way because football clubs can't be state owned. So essentially there is this consortium of PIF, there is RB Sports and Media, the Reuben family as an example, and there's a few others. They kind of filter into it. But essentially, it's the people at the top of PIF and the people that own PIF in Saudi that really do control the football club. This, in my opinion, will be very similar. It will be a member of potentially the Dubai royal family. They won't be able to own the club outright because of the way the rules work. So a consortium will be created where an investment company of some sort, one that probably already exists, will be, in the end, would be the 85% shareholder. Then there'll be some others because they've gone out to some club legends. You might find a David Beckham gets involved and owns 2.5%. You might find someone like a Michael B. Jordan buys 5%. They kind of do this. They create this kind of structure. That way it gets through the fit and proper persons test. Otherwise, they often reject it. That's why it took Newcastle 2 years now to kind of build that structure. So I might be getting some of that slightly wrong, and I hope people don't take it in an offensive way, because I saw Newcastle fans going, no, we're not owned by the royal family of Saudi. And I always remember Sam going, I'm from the Middle East. Everything in all these countries is owned by the royal family. You can't not be. So that's why it will be a consortium, where in reality, there'll be one person that is really calling the shots, but they'll kind of build a structure around it. So I don't think anybody from that region, and I will say this, with experience as well, they're not going to give the Glazers a couple of £1 billion and then sit there and make them more money. They're going to say, we buy that. That's why the Qataris didn't offer what Ineos did to own a part of it, because the Qataris aren't interested in spending $1 billion and then making £250 million profit in a few years. They want to own it. They want to make it. They want to make it amazing again. So I'd be very surprised if that was the case, Don. To be fair,
yeah. I mean, well, exactly. If that's the case, then Terry, let me ask you actually first of all. Yeah, if that's the case, that you feel that the Glazers won't want to, more investment in that sense, and would want to just be bought out. Do you see that happening, bro? Do you see these guys buying out the Glazers?
I look at
a lot of people were confident before that was going to happen.
Well, look, I look at it this way. I'm not sitting here I'm overly confident because of what's happened in the past. The one thing, my only criticism of the Qataris, and a lot of people blamed Ineos and said, oh, if the Ineos wouldn't have offered them a part option, they might have accepted the low bid, because everyone's bids were a low balling. The Glazers wanted over 5 billion, and I think the max they got offered was like 4.2. My view was, well, no, it was no disrespect, but just pay the Glazers what they want, because they were never going to sell it at that amount for the reasons the last 18 months have shown. We've cleared the crap from the club. The club's now going to start moving into almost making profit, which is great from a business perspective. And now the plans for the redevelopment of the area and the new stadium has gone through. That instantly makes the football club more valuable. The new TV deal monies are being negotiated. They're going to be announced soon. That makes every Premier League club more valuable. So I think there's this element now where potential investors will look at it and say, yep, they want 5.5 billion. Because also the Glazers won't take for 5 billion and then pay the debts off with it. They're going to say, well, if you want us to pay all the debts off, you're going to have to pay us 5.6 billion. And then we'll use that extra. So because they're not going to use any of their own money to pay off the Glazers. They'll never do that.
Exactly.
What they have to look at, these investors, is this. Even if United remain a team that's mid-table to Europa League level, we've still just had record-breaking revenues. The new stadium will happen, I think, with or without a new full owner. That's going to make us more valuable, especially because the area surrounding it is going to go up. We're going to own more land in that area. All that's going to happen for anyone else who wants to buy us is we're going to go from costing 5 billion to costing 6 billion to costing
exactly. Exactly. And this is the thing, though, Terry. The Glazers,
it's almost like now,
right?
now or never. Not now or never, but it's now at 5 billion, but maybe in 6 years at 8-9 billion, and that's a lot of money.
And this is the thing, and this is where they've actually pulled a blinder here, right? This is where they're showing you how much how they've made their billions, in fact, because
wait, what does pull a blinder mean? What does that mean?
Pull a blinder, like
they've done something brilliant.
They've done something brilliant, innit? Because obviously,
you gotta understand that I don't know some of these terms, but you gotta break it down to me.
Sorry, right? Hey, you've learned today now. Pull a blinder is basically like
pulling a blinder.
You know, like Lavia dropped his shoulder the other day and left that guy. He pulled a blinder, bro. He left.
So you did something great, basically. Yeah.
It's like a mic drop. If someone does a mic drop moment, the old-fashioned thing is you'd say pull the blinder. It's like a mic drop moment.
Pull the blinder. Yeah, basically, yeah. So obviously, you know, they've told Ineos, Jimmy, you can buy the club and that, all of that, yeah. And like they've taken all the heat away from themselves, right? But whilst the heat is away from them, they are still on the books, and Jimmy is clearing everything up. Jimmy's taking all the heat for you know, all the cuts, you know what I'm saying, all these expansions and all of these different things. And now you can see how much money you're bringing in because of all these cuts and whatnot, right? So they're the ones that are seeing the real benefit from it, because again, it's going straight into their pocket. So anytime anyone wants to come in now, it's okay, cool, you want to come in? The value's gone up, the price has gone up now. And they're not involved in anything to do with the football no more.
One of the funniest things for me is yesterday I got invited. There's a mainstream media outlet reached out for me to go and film a show with them soon, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it because I need to speak some facts on these fucking shows because they're full of morons. But I've heard United fans for years go, I just don't like the Glazers. Why? They're just stupid business people, man. And I used to sit there and go, it's one of those things, right? You can call them horrible, greedy, leeches, terrible owners. What you can't call them is bad business people. They bought a football club the size of Man United for £0 of their own money. They got debt that the club paid. And at some point, they were always going to walk away with £5-6 billion of profit for spending not a single penny of their own money. If you think that's a stupid business person, I'm not going to shut down free speech, right? But it's an element of shut the fuck up. Like, just shut the fuck up. You're talking absolute bullshit. And even with Ineos, this says here, like, Sir Jim is a corporate raider. His reputation has been damaged from the whole thing. Glazers did in day. So I disagree as well, Bads. No, I disagree. I disagree. If someone comes in now and goes, there's 6 billion for everything, he's come in. Yes, he's taken. Listen, if you think these billionaires care about the everyday person calling them a name online, do you think he cares, right? That Rance calls him a broke billionaire? Do you think that I've called him a dickhead before? Do you think that someone, Mark Goldbridge, refers to them as Glinios? Do you think when he's sitting in his mansions and in his yachts, he's sitting going, oh my God, people call me a broke billionaire? If he walks away after 18 months, making £250 million of profit for his business, that's pure profit, he hasn't been done dirty. He just walks away. And do you know what's mad? The second that if this happens and he walks away with that money, we'll probably never hear his name again. And in the space of 18 months, he made £250 million out of the club. Again, I don't think that's being done dirty. For me, I know we'll talk about, we want to do this to the club, we want to own the whole thing, we want to do this. Maybe they do. But if someone comes in now and offers enough money, they're walking away with big profit. And yes, they put they've put their own cash in, but they're going to get that all back plus £250 million. That for me, for 18 months' work, £250 million. Fucking hell, it's not bad. It's not bad. I've had worse days. But yeah, look, let's see if it happens or not. But it'll be an interesting one. This here from Josh, he says, for me, this is not about money. This is about ambition. We have been accustomed to accepting losing, being okay with losing, and especially after hearing what Sir Jim said this week. We need ambition here.
To be fair, I listened to the Sir Jim interview. The quotes, I'm not gonna lie, they sound a lot worse than when you watch the interview, and this is why it's always important you gotta watch how. Not just listen, but you got to watch how someone inducts an interview and how they answer certain questions. I'll hold my hand up and I'll admit I actually tweeted right away after I saw the quote of him saying, "Oh, look, takes 3 years. Look at Fergie, look at Arteta," and I was like, "Fuck, we have a casual running us." But then, to be fair, I watched the interview and I watched the way he was asked the question. He kind of didn't want to give an answer right away. like in the way that the interviewer was asking him. So at first he asked him about like Amorim, and then he said, yeah, he's a nice guy. But he was like, no, that's not what I asked you. Like, is he going to be given time? And he basically alluded in a way that, like, ideally for him, Amorim or any other manager does have to prove they're a good manager over 3 years. He didn't say he has 3 years to prove he's a good manager. He said he has 3 years. He has to prove he's a good manager throughout the 3 years. And basically, it was one of those where he didn't want to say, like, yeah, I'll sack him, da-da-da-da-da-da. He kind of wanted to show, like, yeah, sure, he's cool. I want to back him, but I'm not going to come out and make a statement right now and say, like, oh, yeah. If he doesn't get results right away, he's sacked. Or no matter what happens, I'm backing him. You got to watch it. Like, he was kind of trying to dodge the answer, but the guy kept pressing him for a response. And I think that was the best response he could have given. I don't think he volunteered that information where he's like, oh, Sir Alex Ferguson, look, the guy said, like Fergie. And then Sir Jim said, yeah, it looked like Arteta. He struggled in the beginning. I don't think the Arteta example was so bad. People could say he hasn't won the league or not, but we have to admit he's done a good job, Arteta, at where Arsenal were versus now. I don't think it's as people think it was. I'm going to admit it because I thought it was the other way until I actually watched the interview. So I do advise people to go watch it again, and you'll kind of sense like he didn't want to volunteer the information. He was asked. He tried to give like a cover-up answer, and then he got asked again, and then he gave that answer. So not to defend him. I don't really defend Indians, but I gotta be honest.
I read the interview. So I read the transcript, and I was fuming. Exactly. And listening to what you've said, I'm going to go back and watch it because actually, I may have fallen into a trap that I call out quite a lot. And I'm only saying that because I'm taking your word for it. Is sometimes what I wasn't thinking, because what the transcript doesn't show you is what the questions were per se. They give you like a brief summary of the question, but you're not hearing the tone. You're not hearing how it's being presented. And if someone's trying to not answer it and end up saying something, it is a little different. I didn't disagree with everything. Like the stuff about the redundancies. As much as I said at the time, it's sad people lost their jobs. We still employ, the Athletic tried to do us dirty on it. Turns out we still employ over 125 more people than the other big six clubs who are all they haven't got like mechanisms and departments that are bigger than ours. In fact, City, we employ 100 people more than City. City have 6 fucking clubs they run. And yet so when people go, we can't have enough staff to run our clubs. Why? Because one of our academy games, the kits were forgotten. That's just somebody forgetting the kits, bruv. You think that's because we made redundancies? How is it?
That's probably you have to share that with the Everton players, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah. And I'd look at it, and is it someone have probably got reprimanded for it, but they tried to make it about the redundancies, and then in their own graph, it shows we still employ 125 people more on average than the other big 6 clubs. So my view is this: if we're scumbags for only employing 900 odd people, what does that say about all the other clubs that didn't even give out the jobs to take away in the first place? Like,
boy, be careful, be careful, because boy, don't let Clearlake start sniffing around JJ. Yeah, don't let Clearlake start sniffing around JJ, because boy, if you lot aren't giving him his protein and his vegetables and that properly to be eating and growing,
the players are being.
We've never gotten bullied off our best players, but off our best academy players, but don't do that. Don't do that.
We'll see about that, bro. Keep a close eye on JJ, because I'm keeping a close eye on JJ. Trust me.
Listen,
bro. You can listen. You can watch him. We can go to Carrington together. I'll fly out. We can go watch the youth team play. That's about it. That's the closest you get.
I don't know what this is. You're just rolling around saying, "Watch out for your kids." My club and me are staring at them. That sounds weird to me, bro. I don't know what you mean.
Why do you gotta make it weird, man? I'm just giving man props here for seeing what I was seeing.
No, did you see the
tennis ball and that? You know,
tennis ball against the wall. Do you know what's funny? It reminded me of my cousin Ben that I've mentioned to you before that knocked Chelsea out the UEFA Cup. When we were kids, we were at a family wedding. Our second cousin was getting married, and we knew he was a good footballer, but I'd never seen him play. And we'd do something. And I remember like all our family was at someone's wedding day, and everyone was outside. It was maybe about 6 in the evening, and everyone was outside watching Ben. And I don't get the exact number. It was over 100 anyway. I don't know the exact number. He did over 100 kick-ups using both feet with a tennis ball in his socks. And I remember thinking, and then me and my brothers are trying to do it. We're getting to like 3, and that was it. And he was so good. But no, that JJ looks special, man. Looks really, really special.
He looks good, man. I can't lie.
He just turned 15, by the way. And he's doing all this playing for the under-18s, which is insane. He's playing about 3-4 years ahead of his age group. He's supposed to go on tour with United next summer. So, like, he's going to go with the first team.
What's the origin?
Oh, that's a great question. I never looked at it. JJ Gabriel.
He looks like he's like North African, like you, Staffy.
Nah, JJ Gabriel. That is the
Maybe
last
that-
name I
maybe that.
expect from him.
He's from England. He's from England. He's from
Really?
England.
He was
He's
definitely
English.
born in England, but if you want to know his origin, like where his
Maybe.
parents were born, I guess I can
He's
look it
England,
up.
yeah?
He plays for England under 15s for me.
So
he's
he's
English.
Irish actually
He's
as
English.
well.
Bit of Irish in there.
Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, English and Irish mixture according to this here. So, but yeah, his
He must
name
have
is
some
his
family
name is
somewhere. He's got family somewhere.
well, his first two names are Joseph Jr. But where does his name come from? Let me just do his name origin.
Never really-
He's got
Let me
his
have
middle
His
a
name
mom is from Cyprus.
Cyprus. So yeah,
You
more.
know,
it's-
I knew he had something in him, bro. You can see it, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
He's
see
yeah,
it.
Mediterranean. Yeah. So his mom
Yes,
is
yeah,
Mediterranean.
there we go,
His
there we
dad
go.
is Irish.
so
His
yeah,
dad
it's
actually played. His dad played for
Joseph
Arsenal.
Jr.
Damn.
Well, you can imagine that his dad's name is also Joseph. Joseph Jr. is his dad's name, and then the Andreo Gabriel sounds like it's maybe the Greek side
Yeah.
of things. So there we go. But
Yeah,
His
he's
dad-
played for Ireland, yeah.
he's
Mac-
basically
Mac-
like,
Mac-
he's
Mac-
basically
Mac-
like my son. He's like my son, half English, half Irish.
Yeah.
There we go. Hope my son gets this good. No pressure.
Apparently
his,
he's got
his,
to Ireland.
his dad played for the Arsenal Academy, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh.
There
So
we
he's tapped
go.
in.
2006, it's saying.
Yeah, you can tell he's not. You can tell he's not fully English, man. It definitely looks like he's got something in him.
Yeah.
He looks good though. I can't lie. He definitely looks good.
Yeah,
man.
he looks-
So
looks
he's
talented.
eligible basically for Ireland, England, and Cyprus. I can take a confident guess and say he's not going to represent Cyprus, but
yeah, probably going to
Right.
be England. Probably going to be England. Moving on from this. Moving on from Man United. Staffy, is Caicedo the best central midfield player in the Premier League?
why would you ask me that? You don't want Don to go on the Caicedo glazing session?
I want to start with you on this. I want Don to listen to what you've got to say first. Do you think
Terry
he's
loves
the
this
best-
conversation. He loves it.
I do love this conversation. I love it.
It's a great question. I've watched Caicedo in person over the summer twice. I went to 3 Chelsea games, and the first one he got benched, and I was so angry. I was like, wait, I wanted to see him today. And then I was fortunate enough that they came to Jersey twice, so I just went to go those games. Absolute class. I always say watching players in person and on the TV are 2 completely different experiences, because you get to actually hyper focus on any player that you choose to, because you have no camera controlling where you're looking. You can look on the ball and off the ball. Caicedo is absolutely amazing. I'd be surprised if this guy somehow one day doesn't end up in, I don't know, Madrid or something. But your question if he's the best in the league right now, we have to add context to so many things. First of all, who are the best midfielders in the league right now, on form or in general? You always think of Rodri. You think of, because of how he's been performing in a lot of people's eyes.
Rodri's void right now. Rodri's void right now. So let's X that.
No.
thing.
I know. I'm about to get. Let me cook, bro. Let me cook.
Okay,
Let him
go.
cook.
I gotta filter down everything a little bit first. So I'm adding on form in general. So in general, you got your Rodri's. You got on form. People talk about Rice. People talk about Gravenberch, and people talk about Caicedo. You can add more if you want, but I'm trying to look more at the deeper midfield role. And if I'm being honest, I've seen so many games where Caicedo gets in midfield battles and he wins against 2-3 players on his own. I've seen it against PSG. I've seen it in multiple games in the league this season. People like Hassan famously called him a shin kicker, which tells you just, if you ever was wondering what's the football IQ in Jordan like, look no further than Hassan. I just had to say it, bro. I'm sorry. I just had to say it.
Staffy's allowed to say that. Staffy's allowed to say that.
I just wanted to say it, bro. Listen, shout out Jordan, but I can't shout out Hassan. I have no problem with Jordan.
Yeah, the rest of us aren't even saying that when we're singing along in our cars. You know what I'm saying?
There's no equivalent of that word for Jordanians, so we're safe anyways. But anyways, what was I gonna say? Nah, listen, Caicedo, man, I think right now, from the sample size that I've seen, that's been long enough. It's been months now since last season to this season. You can put your Rices up there. You can put your Gravenberches up there. You can put Rodri up there when he's fit, which he hasn't been fit in a while, unfortunately, because of his knee. I think Caicedo has been performing as one of the best midfielders in the league, in the world, and I think he is the best midfielder in the Premier League right now. The guy, listen, he wins too many duels and physical battles on his own in that midfield. He's a one-man wrecking crew. And on the ball, which is something rare to have when you're that physically dominant and you're that good at winning duels, he's actually comfortable with the ball. He can pick up passes. And just when he's run out of doing everything that's good, he just sometimes he decides, you know what, I want to jog up the pitch right now and just score an absolute screamer. We seen it last week. I was watching the Chelsea game, and obviously I wanted Chelsea, as much as I want to be ahead of them in the table, I did want Chelsea to beat Liverpool because ultimately they will always be my rivals as a United fan. And I see him walking up, and I'm like, are they sure they want to give him all that space? Because I know this guy doesn't shoot a lot, but when he does shoot, he's going to put one top bins. And I was shocked and not shocked at the same time. I was not shocked because I've seen him do it before, but I was shocked because of how good it was and how the goalkeeper actually got a touch on it and it still found a way to make it in the back of the net. The guy is way two-dimensional. He has so many dimensions in the game. He can defend, he can progress the ball, he can shoot, he can do everything. I think pound for pound right now, Caicedo is the best player in the league. And the fact that, knock on wood, I never want a player to get injured. The fact that he's so as well fit all the time and barely picks up any injuries, I see him doing this on a long run. And I think it's going to be very, very hard for a lot of midfielders to compete with him. I think Chelsea, as a football team, will be the decider of how far he goes in terms of his achievements as an individual player. Because we all look back at midfielders that were very good, but when they play for very successful teams, we put them in old-timer conversations. But when they don't really achieve all that success, you look at Pogba's United as well, individually very brilliant, never achieved anything that we expected, so we don't put him in these conversations. I think as far as the Chelsea team goes, he can actually keep going up in these conversations. I do see him, how old is he, 23, 24? I can see him over the next 5 years easily being the best player in his position. He just needs to, I think this team just needs to keep progressing and winning more because him individually, I think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yep, it's true. It's true, bro. I can't.
Sorry, Don, before you go into Caicedo, because Staffy mentioned Liverpool, what did you make of what Sam said on his own shows and on the Terrace in the week, that essentially Chelsea didn't beat them, Liverpool beat themselves? It was all about Liverpool being bad. That's the reason that Caicedo was so brilliant. That's the reason why you won the game. It's because Liverpool were just awful.
Was that his take? Was that his take?
Essentially, it was a bit of a backhanded compliment in there somewhere, but it was essentially Liverpool beat Liverpool when you boil it down.
He's asking you, bro.
No, I'm asking you, Don.
That's me.
But before you do your Caicedo take, we haven't actually spoke about that game. And I didn't know what you thought. And it isn't the only Liverpool fan that said it. Like they're their own worst enemy. They're the reason they lost. Like, what do you make of that kind of take?
We absolutely listen. For me, that was our best performance of the season, and a big reason why is because of how we were pressing off the ball. Right. One of the main reasons, Terry, why I went into this season saying we're going to compete is because how I was seeing us defending. It wasn't just the back line, like I told you before. It was everyone. Right. Caicedo, Enzo, Cucurella, Gusto, all these guys counter pressing. You know what I'm saying? So when people were talking about, oh, well, you ain't got Cole, I said, okay, yeah, big miss, we ain't got Cole, but we still have Caicedo, but we still have Santos, we still have Sugo. We still have enough in the team to be able to defend properly and not to be doing, stupid shit at the back. And that's exactly what we did against Liverpool, bro. We gave them zero space on the ball. You see how Maresca set up the midfield. No one expected Gusto to start in there. He did, because he had a simple task of literally man-marking McAllister and pressing the fuck out of him. And you saw how that worked in the game. Having that three-man midfield gave Enzo a little bit more protection. I know he was very good off the ball, but he was looking like he was more on it because he knew there's two people behind him rather than just one person behind him, if that makes sense. And again, in front of goal, we were good in front of goal. We created some good chances, and in the end, we were quite clinical. Look at the chance that Caicedo had. That's not even a half chance.
See how, one second, then. See how am I being misquoted again? I was talking about players in this position. And I'm already, people don't want to listen to, they just want to sit here and catch you off. So later on down the road, they can revisit something that you said. We're not talking about players in the league. We're talking about midfielders in the league. So if I said players, I'm sorry, I meant players in that position. I'm sorry that you didn't have comprehension skills and understand that on your own, Chiavelli. We're talking about
but there's a debate for that, though. There's definitely an argument
There's a
for
debate, but
him
that's
being
not
the
the
best
debate I'm
player.
having right now. We'll save that when I want to talk about it. Because what if I want to put Haaland as the best player in the league? Come on, man. What are we doing here? Just please listen, brother. Listen, it's
He's
not all
trolling,
about
he's
catching
trolling,
off people and clipping, da-da-da. Just enjoy a football debate without being weird for once. Okay, please.
He's trolling. Leave him. He's trolling. I saw him put in a little report about the Bayern game or whatever. But yeah, the way we set up in the game, Terry, and the way that the players were all switched on was one of the major reasons why Liverpool played like that, bro. When you talk about some of the balance that we had from the back as well, you've got Chalobah. Sorry, you had Josh, who's a right-footed player playing at right centre back, and you had Badia Shield, who offers us a lot of balance on the left. You were seeing how many times Garnacho was getting the ball, Gittins was getting on the ball, right? Even Enzo on the left-hand side, because we just had a lot more balance. So, bro, I know Liverpool right now, they're not that confident, but they've still got a good team. And we had to throw them off their game. That's exactly what we did to PSG. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what we did to Liverpool as well. So that's mad for Hussam to say that, man. I was at the game and I could see how much they wanted it. You know, I could see how much tactically.
You guys did a great job. First of all, Konate got hooked early, which someone I tried to have a debate about on this channel before. And I was told by Tom Little that he's world-class. World-class players don't get subbed off at 50 minutes. Okay?
Did he get injured? I don't know why he got hooked up.
I don't know if he got injured, but I think he was horrendous on the ball. And I think Maresca did a great job. You guys kind of low-key kept pressing, what's his name, Van Dijk, so the ball goes down Konate a little bit more, which forced him to be the main playmaker in that center-back partnership, which he's not good at and he's not comfortable at, which is why if you think later on, when he took him out, who did he bring on? He didn't bring on another center-back. He brought on a midfielder. I forgot who he brought on, but he put Gravenberch in center-back because he knows Gravenberch can trust him on the ball more than Konate. That was all by design. Hussam is salty, and that's fine. We love Hussam for who he is, but we just got to call it out. Hussam is salty. If you want to sit here, and by definition, I'll be honest, every team that wins a game, technically the other team has to make a mistake. It depends on how big or small the mistake is. So technically, if you want to go by that, everyone does beat themselves. I have to make an error for you to score a goal. So by that definition, it means everyone beats themselves. To dismiss how good the Maresca game plan was, I think it's a little bit. I agree. I don't want to say ignorant, but as I said, it is a little bit salty for him to say
intellectually dishonest, and it's because you're right.
That's probably
the United fan I was talking to last night, and this United fan said he put up the thing about the teams we've beaten, and the list doesn't look great. You know, this team had a man sent off, this team's promoted, etc. But he was talking about the season and basically saying how Chelsea handed us the win at Old Trafford. And I was like, well, no. We blew them away in the opening 5 minutes and could have scored 2 goals before the red card. They panicked and gave the foul and gave a red card away. That's because we were good. If we'd have started that game slow and didn't have the ball and weren't attacking, they wouldn't have conceded the red card. So I'm not a fan of trying to take away from the opposing team. You know, if, for instance, the game was absolutely drab, we weren't doing any. If Chelsea were playing awfully, weren't creating chances, weren't passing the ball well, weren't pressing, and Alisson did a carry us and sort of went to kick the ball and it hit someone's foot and went in, then maybe you can make that argument.
Well, that's why I said depending on what the error is, Terry. I mean, if you misplace a pass, that's not the same as scoring an own goal as an example.
I agree. And look, I get what you're saying. Like Maresca panicked against United, but the reason he panicked is because where that game started. And had we not started the way we did, if we weren't a freight train, if that red card was 5 minutes, 10 minutes in because somebody punched someone, but Chelsea started brilliantly and were pinning us back, he wouldn't have made those substitutions. So as much as I know there's a lot of United fans that don't want to say anything good about our team at the moment, I get it. I'm just talking about honestly calling football matches, honestly reviewing them. And of course, Liverpool have got problems. Me and Hussam went through it when he was saying the first goal they considered Caicedo's was systematic because of the space vacated by Gravenberch. And I'm sitting there, I did this with him face to face. It's not talking behind his back, it's public. But hang on though, there isn't an issue with the system. The issue was that McAllister's there, and what McAllister should have done is take a few steps back because he had 2 central midfielders ahead of him. What he did, he rushed into the press and got 1-2'd, and then Caicedo run into the space. That's not a systematic
that first touch from Caicedo took the ball away from him as well.
Yeah, but if he hadn't,
but there's a lot of. I do agree with Hussam to a certain extent. There is systematic errors, but I think some of these systematic errors comes from the type of players they employ in this team, which is a conversation we tried to have earlier in the season. But we all remember what happened there. We weren't allowed to talk about Liverpool until they lose. So now I guess it's only valid to talk about them. They've had some profiles in this team that eventually you knew was kind of like something had to give. So when you talk about McAllister, what is the problem with that running that midfield? You have two, ideally, they're a little bit more advanced midfielders than sitting sixes. So McAllister, yes, he did a job in the six last season. Let's be honest. When we watched him at Brighton, did everyone think he's a six? No one thought that. Same as Gravenberch.
Ironically, he needed Caicedo.
He had Caicedo behind him. Exactly. You have two players that, I mean, their instinct as footballers is to be a little bit more advanced. It's to press rather than drop. They're not sixes. So when you talk about systematic issues, you got to also talk about, all right, look at the players you have to employ there and why you're employing them. Because it brings us back to conversation about what they did in the summer, which I feel like it's a conversation we don't have enough over here. Did they do the right type of recruitment? I think they addressed their wants rather than their needs. Because if you could sit here and say, would you rather have saved that 100+ million that they spent on Isak because they already got Ekitike, maybe get someone a little bit cheaper, and then let's say, hypothetically, they saved 80 million, that 80 million you go invest on one or two midfielders. I think that would have been more beneficial for their team and what they're trying to do rather than spending it all on Isak. Now, that doesn't mean that Isak isn't a good player, but it's the recruitment. Did you get Slot what he needs? Is Slot making mistakes, by the way? 100%. Because me and Hassan were talking about this yesterday, and he was blaming 80-90% of it on Slot. I was like, I don't agree with you. I think Slot is making a lot of mistakes. He's creating that Ten Hag midfield in that donut midfield that we saw in Ten Hag's second year. Now we're seeing Slot do it. It must be a bold Dutch thing in their second year. They all love to do that. But equally, you got to look at it. Did he get the right profiles? I'm seeing him employ flying fullbacks when he probably needed someone a little bit more defensive. I seen him get a ball carrier in Frimpong when he was here to replace a ball progressor, aka a passer, like what's his name, like Trent. I used to see Salah sit on the halfway line, waiting for that pinged ball from Van Dijk and Trent. Now people are saying, why is he so high up the pitch? He needs to track back. He never tracked back when he was in his 20s. Why the fuck would he track back when he's 33, 34? There's so many systematic slash profile errors in this team. Anyone who wants to put it on a majority blame on a manager or so, I think is delusion. I'll be honest with you. But to bring it back to what we were originally saying, there was a lot of errors from Liverpool in that team. But equally, I can't look at that game and compare it to a United-Chelsea game, because you could argue, yeah, the Chelsea-United game was so sabotaged from David Sanchez and then the moves from Maresca. I didn't see anything that Slot did in that game where I'm like, oh my God, he threw away the game. Sure, he made mistakes, but it's just discrediting how good Chelsea was and how good the moves that they were. Even the subs were great. Everything they did, I think it was a 10 out of 10.
That's what people do, though. That's what people do, though. They always discredit us, though. Even when we squash PSG.
I want to come back to Chelsea in a second. Staffy, when you said you can't put it all on the manager, when you're talking about the profile issues that Liverpool have got, do you think that is more on the sporting directors, maybe not having as good a summer as it all appeared?
I said this with Hassan yesterday. He didn't like it. I'm going to say it here. People can clip me all they want. I don't care. I think keeping Salah and giving him a 400K contract, now it's not looking like a great decision. It's always easier to talk about things in hindsight, but now we're seeing the evidence in front of us. I think one of the reasons that Wirtz is struggling and Isak is struggling is because a lot of the ball still has to go through Salah. And I don't think that should have been their future approach. It was very clear. Everyone could look at the signings. When you spend over 200 million, two record-breaking signings for a 10 and a 9, especially with their age group, can we all agree this is where they think their future is going to be, in Wirtz and Isak, especially Wirtz being 21, 22. You can agree that's their future. I think Salah being there, Salah is never going to be a role player on a team because of how much he's accomplished. And the type of player he is anyways, especially at Liverpool, he's always going to be someone who the ball has to run through him a lot. When you don't use him as a focal point, in my opinion, it becomes a little bit of a liability. So you can agree or disagree who the team should be running through. I think he's one of the reasons why Wirtz is struggling. If you actually want to run the 009 joke and wonder why he's 009, look no further than Salah. Salah missed about 3 sitters that Wirtz gave him. So even if you want to just talk about the 009 joke or 007, because that's how it started, he generally could have not had a 007 if Salah just finished his chances. Go look at the Atletico Madrid game. Go look at the first chance in the Chelsea game last game. But to take it away from that and to make it a little bit more tactical, I think Salah's presence on the pitch is kind of hindering some of these players. So that doesn't take away, by the way, the fact that he can create a ball. He did put a great ball with the outside of the foot on Isak's head and he missed it. That's not what I'm saying. Look how many times Salah got the ball and he did what he deserves, by the way, because of his name and his stature in this team. Every time he ran at that defense, what did he do? He cut to his left and shot. Now, he might have given, I don't know where Don was sitting, but I'm seeing Don's face is good, so it means the ball didn't hit him. But I know there's a kid that's sitting in that area behind the goal that every time Salah shot, the ball hit him in the eye, and he probably went home with two bruised eyes.
You know what's so funny, Staffy? That half, when he did that, I was sitting, so they were shooting the other way. So I'm sitting behind the goal, so I could see the ball flying far, bro.
Yeah, it was way off. Now you can argue. Now I want you to picture Salah's not there, and let's just picture it because that's who they have on the bench. Imagine if Chiesa is there. Chiesa is not really that type of player who's gonna like. His ego's not gonna tell him, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be taking these shots because I'm that type of guy." He's gonna be looking for a pass or a cross rather than that. I think when you put a player like Chiesa or someone with that profile, anyways, whose job is going to be, first of all, I'm going to track back because Frimpong is not that good defensively, so I'm not going to stand on halfway line. I'm going to be running up and down. I'm going to be more energetic than Salah. And when I go there, I'm going to offer the virtue he doesn't have right now, which is a winger that kind of stretches the pitch. And when he gets the ball, he's probably going to put the ball in the box for his attacker. That's not who Salah is. That is not a diss on Salah, but just he's not who he is. I think it would have been better off for them in the summer if they chose to invest in Isak and what's his name in Verts to move on Salah and reserve that spot for someone else, save that 400K. You can argue he deserved it, by the way, based on who he accomplished. That is not the conversation I'm having. That money could have been used for a new, younger winger who's going to come in, is going to press, track back, and put the ball to his best attacker, which is Verts and Isak. I don't think that's who Salah is, and that's not who Salah is supposed to be. And I don't think people should use that as a stick to beat Salah with. You can just admit it for what it is without saying it's Salah's fault. I'm just blaming the recruitment over the summer. Look at Diaz. Diaz was not better than Salah, right? But what is one thing this team is majorly missing? I think they are missing a true left winger, someone who stretches the pitch, someone who actually can carry the ball because Gakpo's not a really great ball carrier. He's more winger-minded than Gakpo anyways because when Gakpo gets the ball, he just cuts and he's always looking for that power shot. And mainly, the most important thing, the press. Hate Diaz or like him. Hate Nunes or like him. These guys were actually hard workers. They had that Latin blood in them. They love to work hard off the ball. I don't think they have that right now, and I don't blame the players that are here. I'm just blaming the profiling. I look at a lot of what's going on in this team. They have a lot of good names, but functioning-wise, I don't think they're functioning well. But it is what it is. This is what they're stuck with right now. So I'm not going to talk about that for the rest of the season. We already established that. What is the solution? And then that's how you have to look at your manager. I think now you got to look at Slot, and he has to find solutions. And I think some of these solutions are uncomfortable. Some of them are, all right, are we going to go to a 4-4-2? And if I go for 4-4-2, that means I'm playing Isak and Kitiki up front. Who am I dropping in the midfield? That is a tough decision. Does Caicedo deserve more game time? I think Caicedo deserves a lot more game time than he's getting. I don't know if Slot just hates Italians or something, but he deserves to play a little bit more. Why is he not playing? And if I play him, am I going to put Verts in the 4-4-2? Am I going to put him on the left? Or is he going to get benched? Am I going to bench Salah? There's tough decisions to be made, and I think it's time for Slot to make some of these big decisions. Unfortunately for him, he's going to die. He's going to live or die off these decisions. Because if he chooses to drop Salah as an example and they don't win games, the sack is coming like that. But if he drops Salah as an example and they start winning, he's going to look like a genius. I don't envy him for his job right now. I wouldn't want to be in Slot's job.
Yeah. I think. Listen, the Salah discourse there is quite interesting, right? Because listen, the optics wouldn't have looked great, Staffy, if after last season the guy basically won them the league, right? For them to just let him go 100%. Because they think he's finished or whatever, and then for him to go somewhere else in Europe and carry on doing what he's doing. Because if you look at that right hand side, bro. They've lost a massive player on that side in the Trent. Yeah, Trent used to find Salah in behind so many times because Salah likes to just stay up. So Trent will just find that.
Bro, it's obvious that he misses him.
Yeah, he misses him, bro. Because Salah gets a lot of assists, and a lot of the times when you look at the goal, you're seeing Trent involved in some way, finding Salah. Now they've got Frimpong, who for me ain't even a fullback like that. And when it comes to technical ability, he's nowhere near Trent. And the other guy as well, they've got Bradley. So that right-hand side is a bit dead, Last season, there was many games where Salah wasn't performing the best, but again, he's putting up the numbers. Right now, he's not even... he doesn't really seem to be doing that. It seems like that attack still hasn't got that chemistry. They still haven't clicked, On paper, it's a scary attack. Isak, Verts, Salah, these guys, bro, you should be scoring goals. You should be outscoring teams. You should be playing fluid football. But football doesn't always work like that, man. It's all about building relationships. And Salah had an amazing relationship with Trent. You know what I'm saying? Amazing relationship with Trent. So all these Liverpool fans that thought, yeah, it'll be easy to just replace this guy, and yeah, you know, fuck him, and he's done now, he's dead now, bro. You're seeing how much of a big miss is.
Do you know? I think the Trent going. I think it's the playmaker element. I didn't really ever assess him as a right back. I assessed him as a playmaker first and foremost because he was fantastic at it. Defensively, he had a good couple of years before he left. He had many a year where he was awful defensively. But it's that argument of being a net positive. And even at 18, 19 years old, when he was making defensive mistakes, was getting teared up by in a lot of games, the net positive he brought to matches because of his playmaking ability. There's a pass I watched of his last night. Obviously, he hits with his right foot. Kind of cuts across the ball. And the ball goes on the inside of the fullback. It's like the ball's making like an inverted run, and then it swerves around the fullback and then ends up at Mo Salah, who's on the outside of the fullback. And I watched it and thought, in my lifetime, Beckham, Ronaldinho, probably, most definitely, Zidane, Scholes,
Lampard.
Lampard ain't playing that pass. KDB, maybe. No, Lampard ain't.
Wait, hold on. Well, you know that really annoys me when people think. Bro, you know how good Lampard's passing was, bro. That guy's passing was unbelievable.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was very good, but I'm talking about that long range passing. I think Lampard's a very good, very, very good footballer. I wouldn't say he's untechnical. I wouldn't say he's bad on the ball. I wouldn't say he's just a box crasher. I think all that talk about Lampard is exceedingly disrespectful. But I'm talking about this is kind of, it's the way he cut across that ball. I've only really seen 5, 6, 7 players that I genuinely think could have pulled off that pass with the weight on it. On a regular basis. Like Trent didn't just do that once, you never see it again. Like this guy was playing passes like that on a regular. Beckham's there. Gerrard was pretty good.
You know what we need to do, Terry, after this? What we need to do? In fact, whilst we're on, I want you to go watch that Ramirez goal, that we scored against Barcelona when he chipped the keeper. I want you to go check who passed him the ball, bro.
Lampard did
play the ball, how he passed the ball. Yeah, Lampard's creativity and passing range was ridiculous, bruv. Ridiculous.
That was very good. He was very good.
Long range, like when people think he was just a box crasher, it really annoys me because I'm like, you guys clearly weren't old enough to be watching him. I remember watching this guy's creativity. It was insane.
No, I hear you on that. It's one of the things I don't like about Roy Keane. A lot of people sit down. Oh yeah, I just watched the pass from Lampard. Very good pass. I just watched it now. But if I could show you now the pass I mean by Trent, if you actually see it, it's very different from that. It's the to even see it. It's not even about pulling that there. He's seen the channel and gone, right, I'll play it through there. Very good pass, kind of off balance. That Trent pass I'm talking, the way he has to hit it with the outside of his, it was like watching a snooker, trick shot sometimes on snooker. It was like,
yeah.
As football fans, you wouldn't have even thought that pass was on and he still found it. But I do think Lampard, on that subject is disrespected, but you see it with Roy Keane a lot. I watched this clip the other day. I'm going to feature on Hot Takes this week with Goldbridge of this guy doing a United legend versus, it was like United legends versus the current City team in terms of who gets in. He didn't pick a single United player. And when it came to the question, I think it was KDB or it was somebody in Rodri. He picked whoever he picked. I don't know who was up against Roy Keane. It wasn't KDB and it wasn't Rodri. It was whoever else plays him. It might be Bernardo Silva. And he said, I'm always going to pick the wizardry of a Bernardo Silva over a shin kicker and a thug like Roy Keane. And he alluded to those words. It might have been those exact words. And I sat there and went, this is the problem when you shouldn't be asking someone who's probably under the age of 30 to play that game because he didn't watch Roy Keane. Roy Keane as a technician is just so underrated because people remember certain things about him. And it's like listening to Gerrard the other day talk about Paul Scholes. It was beautiful to hear because it wasn't because Gerrard said it. It was just that Gerrard was being honest about how he thinks that Scholes would still be the best midfielder now, like he was back then, because his way of playing football is almost timeless, where Gerrard thinks I'd struggle in this era because I wouldn't be able to be as physical, as technically gifted as he was. The only thing I would say to Gerrard's point the other way around, there are some footballers now that I don't think could make it 15 years ago because one hard tackle and they'd go off crying because footballers are weak now in comparison to what they used to be. But no, I think Gerrard Lampard gets a lot of disrespect. But listen, I hear what you're saying on Liverpool, and I think that there's this comment here that says chemistry takes time, and it does. But The one thing about Salah's interesting. I don't think he's finished personally. He hasn't been playing well. I think he can find himself again. I think they can find the balance. What I will say is not about him specifically, is that Sir Alf Ramsey said it. Thomas Tuchel's currently saying it with this current England setup. Because I've got a feeling, boys, Thomas Tuchel might not be bringing Jude Bellingham back. I don't think he likes Jude Bellingham. And he's essentially saying, without saying it, I think he prefers, I mean, Wharton's not in the team, but I think he prefers Elliot Anderson's, Wharton's. I think he prefers technicians to what Bellingham is. The way he sort of said,
Where's Rice then? Where's Rice then?
Rice is very.
Well, he usually has a destroyer and a technician in his team.
Well, listen, see, this is what you've just done there. What you have just done there, though, is you've just disrespected the Declan. Declan Rice in a deeper position is so much better than Jude Bellingham is at doing that role. In terms of the only thing with Rice that I think is a fair bit of criticism is taking the ball on the turn isn't one of his strengths, but he's a world-class midfield player, and we see that because we've seen him perform in the Europa League, the Conference League in a West Ham team, and be one of the best players in the tournament. We've seen him step up and be fantastic for Arsenal in all competitions. He's very, very good for England. Did the same thing again last night. Does it in most games, but I feel that he is technically gifted on the ball as, say, Elliot Anderson or a Michael Carrick of years gone by. If we keep it to the English players, no. But I always feel that's where the England midfield went wrong. We should never have been playing Lampard and Gerrard together. One of them should have been dropped for Michael Carrick. That one of those two with Michael Carrick, I think, would have made England win tournaments. We just didn't do it. We just had two of the same type in there. So I agree. I don't think you should play Wharton and Elliot Anderson together. I don't think it should be Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice. I think you need a mixture in that space. But back to the point about Liverpool, sometimes to progress as the team, you have to sacrifice a star because it's not about picking your best players. It's about creating the best team. And that is why I agree with what you said right at the end, Staffy, about you don't envy Slot's job because he may have to make a really tough call. And what we've already seen with Liverpool fans, and one thing I do find beautiful about the Liverpool situation is if you notice that when things are going well at a club, fans like to pretend we wouldn't act like Arsenal fans. We wouldn't act like United fans. We wouldn't lose our minds on camera like Chelsea fans did. As soon as things start going wrong, you see that we're all... One of my favorite sayings in the world about people is we're all quite uniquely generic. We're not really as different from each other as we think we are, if that makes sense. And football fans, when it's going well, we all think we know more about the game than our rivals. We all say we're patient. We all say we won't lose our temper. When it starts going wrong, we all seem to do the same. You'll have the Liverpool fans that are also patient, but there's always a percentage that lose their minds, go crazy. The fact they're slot outers already, I think, is absolutely mad. But getting away from that, just want to finish your point about Caicedo, actually. We started on this, but really good segues, to be fair. Do you see him as the best central midfielder in the league, Don? Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Yeah, man. I think for me, he's complete. He's a complete midfielder, man. Offensively, I've been saying for ages, Terry, I think he's actually an 8, right? And if you actually go do your research, when he was playing in Ecuador before he went to Brighton, he was literally playing as an 8. You can see it for the way he shoots the ball. You can see it the way that he passes. You can see the way that he carries the ball, right? You can see the way he breaks up play. He is just a complete midfielder. You know what I mean? A complete midfielder. And that's why it's really frustrating as a Chelsea fan when you see people think all he's good for is destroying play. And I'm like, this guy, you haven't even seen the best of Caicedo, because put him further up, you're going to be seeing more goals. You're going to be seeing more assists, right? The way this guy passes the ball is so underrated as well, Terry. And one thing that Staffy mentioned earlier is when you get to watch these guys in real life, like you get to experience things like a lot differently, right? With that pitch at Stamford Bridge, it's a tiny pitch. The way I see that guy controlling games and his weight of pass is unbelievable, bro. The little clips he finds in behind, you know what I mean? The other week when we played against Brighton, I don't know if you remember that pass he played to Reece when Reece crossed it in for Enzo. He does that a lot. He gets a lot of pre-assists, right? The strikes that he's getting right now, bro, all the goals that he scored tend to be bangers. I can think of the final against Betis. You know, I can think of the goal against Brentford. I can think of the goal against Liverpool. I can think of 2 of the disallowed goals against Spurs, 2 years in a row, by the way, both bangers outside the box. I can think of the goal against United at Old Trafford, right? And away from all of that, he just made sure that he is that general in the midfield, bro. I didn't think I would ever see anyone as good as Kante winning the ball back. This guy he gives me that same feeling, bro. He's everywhere, right? Second game in the Champions League, Terry, against Benfica at home. I know he didn't have the best game against Bayern, but to be fair, listen, intangibles, first game back into the Champions League, you know, some of these guys were a bit nervous, and I could see it in Caicedo's game. He grew into the game, but against Benfica, that was the most any players won the ball back for Chelsea in the Champions League since like 2016, 2017. Already breaking records, bro. There was a moment in the game where he won the ball back like 3-4 times in like 20 seconds, bro. Yeah. The way he reads space, the way that he takes the ball from the first phase, controls the game. The goal that we scored against Liverpool, that little reverse pass he played to Lavia to take out 2 players. He does that every single game, at least 3-4 times a game. Yeah. How he is with his back to goal in tight areas, right? He's just a fantastic footballer, bro. Fantastic footballer. And I remember when I did my little preview with Hussam before we played PSG, he was telling me he doesn't get into that midfield, right? He absolutely dog-walked that midfield, yeah? He gets into any midfield in world football, bro. Because people can argue Pedri is the best midfielder, but Caicedo can play with Pedri. And Pedri would love to play with Caicedo, yeah? He goes into that PSG midfield, play next to Vitinha. Yeah, you take Ruiz out, you play him next to Vitinha, and you have the other guy there. What's my man's name? The Portuguese guy. Neves, yeah? You've got him as well. He gets into any midfield in world football. And it's not just now he's been playing like this. He's been playing like this from, I'll probably say, the second half of Poch's season. But because we finished 6th that year, he didn't really get his stripes, right? Because, again, the shape, the structure.
I want to ask you this question. There's comments come in. I'll ask you this question. It's aimed at me, but I'm going to ask it to you. How can someone be the best in their position when they haven't performed yet in the Champions League knockout stages or been in a title race, performed in a title race?
Bro, it's a team game. It's a team game end of the day. You know, Caicedo can comfortably go into that Arsenal team and do the exact same thing, right? He can comfortably go there and help them win the league. He can comfortably go to Liverpool right now, and they are much better defensively. He goes to City right now, Terry. No one's even asking about Rodri right now. No would say, yo, Rodri, take as much time as you need. We're good right now. You know what I'm saying? Right? So when people are trying to do these things, I'm like, end of the day, it's a team game. Because there's many games where Caicedo is brilliant. Like when we played against Brentford, that should have been the winning goal, right? What happens? Guys are sleeping in the box. He ends up being in the team that's drawn that game, you know? So you got to look at that as well. It's even like when Enzo first came Chelsea, when we finished 12th, Enzo was for me our best player that season, him or Thiago Silva, even though we joined in January. He was creating so many chances, Terry, and guys are not burying them. That's where you got to look at the whole team as a whole. Caicedo himself has been doing his job, and he deserves more.
I know he's been doing the job. But I suppose what the question is more alluding to is that there are other midfield players, and Declan Rice's name is going to come into this as an example.
Yeah.
Big Champions League games, stepped up and played well. We saw that home and away against Real Madrid as an example. Do you not think that, and I think that Arsenal fans are going to push back on this, especially not even because of Rice, but because of Saka. When they were talking about Saka being one of the best in his position, one of the best in the world, I think if you're the best central midfielder in the Premier League, there's also an argument to say you're world class. I think that those two things are going to coincide. And what they said about Saka is, well, until he starts delivering in Champions League knockout games, until he starts delivering in title races, you can't give him that kind of accolade. Has your mind changed about that criticism towards, say, Saka, now that you're watching who you believe to be a world-class, one of the best in the league, who hasn't done it at that stage yet? Do you now think people were too harsh to criticize Saka in that way?
Because no, I don't think it was too harsh, because end of the day, Champions League is now another level, and that's another level that Caicedo needs to get to. But the question here, Terry, is, do I believe that he will perform the same way? I do, right? I believe he's going to go into the Champions League, and you're going to be seeing some crazy performances from him. It might not be 2 free kicks scored against Real Madrid, but it will be him dominating against teams, right? Absolutely killing your best midfielders in there. That's what I can see him doing. You know what I mean? And this Declan Rice Champions League thing as well. I'm sorry, bro. Like, how many examples can you give me of him actually doing a mad thing in the Champions League? You can give me Real Madrid, but I remember when he went to the Allianz and he was stinking out the place, same way that Caicedo was as well. You know what I mean? I don't know why people are now acting like every game I've seen of this guy in the Champions League is fantastic and he's scoring goals.
Because it's easy to quantify things in football done when you see goals. And this is why I think the debate between Caicedo in his position and Saka in his position, they're a little bit different. I understand why people said that about Saka. People were saying he was the best right wing in the world, but I saw right wings that were going into the Champions League season in, season out, not just winning it. They were just bagging goals, big moments. The way we judge attackers is not the same way we judge midfielders. I think Saka was brilliant. People needed to see it in the biggest stage because that's what it is when you're attacking. They want to see you back in big goals because when you go hiding in big games, then you don't really make that claim that you're the best in your position. I feel like it's harder to judge midfielders because too many people don't watch the game and they look for the little intangibles. Canadian Cam always comes on this channel. Shout out to him. He always says, what? The hardest thing to do in football is what? Score a goal. I don't agree with it, by the way. I've never agreed with that claim that the hardest thing to do is to score a goal. I feel like sometimes it can become one of the easiest things, which is why we see a lot of shit players nowadays breaking records for a lot of old-time attackers and they score more goals than them. I think a lot of people watch games and they don't understand what someone is going to do in the midfield or whatever because it's not G&A. The easiest thing for a casual fan, and I'm not calling Canadian Cam a casual, I'm saying that's what people do. Casuals want to watch highlights. Casuals want to see goals. A game can be a brilliant, by the way, 0-0, and some of us could say, be like, damn, there was no goals today, but what a masterclass it was today. It was actually two teams going at it. A casual can look at that and be like, 0-0, it must mean it was a shit game.
Agree.
It's easier to quantify attackers' outputs, which is goals, versus a midfielder. I think it's easier for a midfielder to be one of the best in his position and not necessarily be successful within the team versus an attacker, because as I said, people look at G&A. I'll give you the best example. Conte, before he went to Leicester City, he was playing in like the French second division. He goes to Leicester City, and still until this day, if you ask most Leicester fans or you ask football fans in general, if you take out Conte or Vardy or Mahrez, which one was more essential to winning that league? You'll always see that, I'd say the majority would say we wouldn't win it without Conte because he was doing multiple man's job for one. But people don't know that. Because people were looking at Mahrez scoring goals and assists. People were looking at Vardy bagging goals and assists. And they look how brilliant he was. Who got the biggest move right away, by the way, after that season? Conte. Mahrez spent one more year in Leicester. Vardy pretty much never left Leicester until last season. And Conte was the first one to get a move. Jose Mourinho was on the phone with him. Antonio Conte was on the phone with him. Everyone was on the phone with him. And he had the job that had the least tangibles. I think it's just, it's a little bit...
One sec, Don. One sec. I hear where you're coming from. Okay, you can't just a midfielder can have a bad game and score a screamer. I remember McTominay versus Arsenal a good few years back now. We didn't play well. He didn't play well, but he scored a banger. That doesn't mean he had a good game. I agree, but whether or not the reason Antonio Conte, the reason that Kante got that move to Chelsea, and the reason why he was so brilliant is he didn't play well in the first 2/3 of the season and then drop off in a title race. He was as good in that title race as he was in the first 2/3 of that season, in the run-in more than the title race. And that's one of the reasons why Chelsea wanted him, because they saw a player that when and there was massive pressure in those last 5 to 10 games for Leicester because the whole world was expecting them to collapse, and he maintained his composure and his performance. I hear you with an attacker, but the criticism of Saka was, the Rice has gone through this. Loads of players go for it. Well, okay, show me what you do in the knockout stage of the Champions League. Show me what you do in a title race. I agree. I think Caicedo will deliver in those moments. But if we're going to hold some players to a standard where we have to wait for them to do it before we say they're good enough, why with Caicedo why would we then change that precedent for him? And we've done it with midfielders, we've done it with defenders, we do it with goalkeepers. And you know as well as I do, a player can go on a good run. So let's see what he does in this situation. Let's see what there. Why are we not putting that same scrutiny against essentially the majority of this Chelsea team who have been good in the Conference League, but they haven't been in a title race yet, and we haven't seen them in the knockout stage of a Champions League game. So just why would we not put that same scrutiny on Chelsea players as we've seen put on Arsenal players in recent years? Why wouldn't we do that?
You can clearly see, though. You can clearly see it. If you ask most Chelsea fans, they will tell you that Caicedo is Chelsea's most important player. I don't think I've ever heard a single Arsenal fan say that about Rice, right? And that goes back to the point that Staffy was making about Kante.
But they would say it about Saka, and I do believe if I'm misrepresenting you here, then tell me. I do remember you talking about knockout stages, title runs, what's he going to do in the Champions League a few years back, and a lot of people put that up against Declan Rice last year as well. And you don't need to be somebody's most important player So you're saying if you're someone's most
But
important player,
my thing is,
circumvent the need to deliver in the biggest moments.
Yeah, but my thing is, you replace Caicedo with Rice in 23, 24 when they went on that mad run. The first year he went, right? They still compete the same way. They probably even win the league. You know how happy I am, Terry, that he didn't go Arsenal, bro. That's my point here. Like Caicedo goes to Arsenal and they still compete the same way. They probably even win it. Yeah, and like I said, for me, this guy has a higher ceiling. He's better than him already, right? And if people want to move the goalpost now and say, "Oh, we want to see in the Champions League," no problem. I'll come back to you in a year's time and we'll be talking about what he was doing in the Champions League. No problem at all, bro. I've got no. When people say that, I'm like, all right, cool. You've moved. Next challenge, we're gonna beat that challenge. We're gonna say after that, oh, you have to win the World Cup with Ecuador.
Yep. But I get what you're saying. I think he'll deliver. I think he'll do it. I'm not disagreeing with you. But if we're going to be, we used this word earlier, talk about what Sam, if we're going to be intellectually honest, we can't sit here a year ago, 2 years ago, and say Saka's got to do it at these stages before I call him one of the best in the league, best in this, best in that, and then not apply that same logic to every other single player. Surely they all have to tick those boxes before we give them that accolade.
Yeah, I don't get what you're asking me. You're asking me that you're saying that Caicedo can't be better than Rice because he hasn't got any experience in the Champions League yet. Is that what you're asking?
I'm saying that if Rice had to wait until he played well in Champions League games, played well in some title race games, if we had to wait until that point for him to be called the best or one of the best midfielders in the league, if Saka had to wait till those moments until he was called properly top class or world class, wouldn't it be intellectually dishonest to then not apply that same logic to every other single player who is now being debated as one of the best in their position or world class?
That wasn't, for me, Terry, that's never really been my basis for an argument with Saka. Like, I never really, used the whole Champions League thing as a massive pointer. Like, people might have been doing it on social media, but every time I would speak about Saka, I'd speak about his attributes in the game. How many times did I tell you I want to see this guy take the game by the scruff of the neck? Right, I want to see him run at his player a lot more. So when I'm talking about Caicedo and Rice, Champions League and that are bonus. Like it's an extra little shape up to your CV, 100%. But when I'm looking at them player for player, the attributes, what they bring on the pitch in the game, right?
Fantastic.
I can clearly see Caicedo's a better player.
They do. When you say clearly, though, do you think there's a massive disparity between Rice and Caicedo? Do you think Caicedo is significantly better than Declan Rice?
I don't think it's significantly better in every area, but certain areas, yes. Certain areas, yes, bro. Yeah, like for example, the passing range, mad. Yeah, the press resistance in that first phase, mad. The destroying, I think Caicedo's a better destroyer than Rice, but I still think Rice is an elite destroyer, right? The shooting, listen, Rice has got a strike on him. Caicedo's got a strike on him. Set pieces, Rice probably has him, but Caicedo don't take them. So I don't think it's like a mad, I don't think it's mad, but I think there's certain areas, if you break them down, I think it was clearly better in certain areas.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's quite normal with most midfield players, and I think Rice, again, they also play slightly different roles at the minute. Rice is in more the 8 role, where Caicedo is more in the 6. So they're going to have. Would Rice win more duels and win possession back more if he played the 6? Yes. Could Caicedo create more, play more forward passes, be more decisive in that area of the pitch if he was further up the pitch? Probably yes as well. So it's kind of hard. But I look at Declan Rice as an example and something people are not taking into consideration. He's one of the best in the league this year at breaking the lines and progressing the ball forward with his passing, but yet doesn't really seem to get much credit. He's not great at taking the ball on the half turn. I agree. He's good at it. I wouldn't say he's great at it. But when it comes to like carrying the ball forward, there's barely a soul in European football that does it better than him. He covers every blade of grass. He's a good leader. He can score goals. His set pieces are absolutely wizardry, and I think they deserve credit. I sort of feel that with Declan Rice, he may not be aesthetically pleasing for some people. Some people might go, it's not what I like to watch. And I totally understand that because people have a preference. I quite like really direct players. On the wing, I prefer a direct winger to an intricate winger. But equally, I understand the beauty and the nature of both. I just find it interesting that having sat between you two and multiple other people for the past, I wonder who that was for a second. Is that Gatto? I wonder what that was on my screen.
What the conversation for me, when it came to the whole Saka thing, like, I think the conversation at the time was, is Saka world class? And for me, I was saying, nah, he's not world class for me. Like, in terms of what I'm watching from him, like, I respect his things. He might be one of the best in his position, but everyone's got a different definition of world class, Terry. And what I said to you at the time, what will help him become world class is actually, you know, doing it the same way he's been doing it in the Prem, in the Champions League as well. Right, that would definitely help his.
So you would now say though that, you know, this is a man with, I think, 17 GA in 19 games. You would now confirm that Saka is a world-class player then?
I mean, he's in the realm of Salah, isn't it? He's in the realm of Salah. I'll probably say close. It's close. He's close to being world class.
What more has Saka got to do to convince you he's one of the best in the world?
Bro, he's got to play the way he was playing before he got injured. I think that Saka was playing at a world-class level.
So when you were saying he wasn't world-class, he was actually world-class then. So you want him to get back to that level to be called world-class again?
No, I think last season, at the start of last season, I thought he was world-class, yeah. I thought he was performing at a world-class level, yeah. You know, and then when he came back from injury, I haven't seen him, like recently he's looked all right, but, you know, since his injury, he hasn't looked great. If he can get that form back that he had before he got injured, I think he can definitely become, you can actually say that he's world-class and obviously have some trophies behind him and stuff. I think that was what the conversation was. But in terms of like overly focusing on, you know, Saka, how long have I known you, Terry? We always talk about his attributes. And that's the same thing with Caicedo and Rice. I feel like when people are trying to move the goalposts down and talk about Champions League, you're distracting from what they actually bring on the pitch. Let's have a conversation about their attributes.
But again, I think when it comes to Saka, I mean, I actually watched him the last couple of Arsenal games and I watched him last night. I do think we're seeing the man back to his best now. In terms of, you said something about it. Yeah, you said something about his explosiveness towards the end of last season. I agree with you. He came back and there was some games where I was like, why aren't you sprinting? And I think he was, you know, almost nursing himself back. But I was watching last night and it's a game against like Wales and you're thinking 3-0 up, you haven't got to bust a gut. But he was sprinting for every ball. And I just thought that looks like Saka again. It looks like he isn't worried about something popping or breaking down again. But when it comes to Saka's attributes, I sort of look at it and think to myself, he's fantastic. And he's a player that consistently runs at his fullback. He's a consistent pain. He scores and he assists at a very good level. And I think at Arsenal now that he's got better players around him, that's going to go up. It's the same with Caicedo, because if you took your other midfielders away and you gave him Bruno Fernandes next to him in a deeper role, or you gave him, I don't know, Casemiro, you would also then see Caicedo hurt by that, because it is that is where it's a team sport and you need better around you. You guys spoke earlier about Villa should probably have some assists if Mo Salah hadn't missed those chances. I just find it very interesting, but I did want to mention Saka. I think he is kind of getting back, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. Do you think he's now looking like himself again?
I mean, he looked all right. He looked all right the other day against what was it, West Ham. I didn't watch the England game yesterday. I saw the goal, which was a banger, by the way, right? But again, you know my thoughts on him. It's very similar. Like this Caicedo Rice debate for me is very similar to what I was saying with Palmer and Saka. The first thing I said to you about Palmer and Saka, I said I just see more in Palmer's game. It's not to say Saka's dead, but I think Palmer's just got more to his game. I think Palmer can do everything Saka can do plus more. And that's how I feel about Caicedo. I feel like Caicedo can do everything Rice can do plus more. It's as simple as that. And people, even add Champions League to it, you add it, but you're trying to get yourself angry because he's gonna do a mad thing in there. He's gonna do his thing in there, bro. That's gonna be something else to tick off the list.
Maybe you will.
They're both got the Conference League. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Caicedo's even got a major before my man. He's got the Club World Cup, right? So, boy, right now, the only difference is that Rice is playing for a team that's been in the title race more often than not.
Well, look, I'm again with you. I'll be honest with you. I would give Rice's Conference League, I think, was a better achievement. He did it with West Ham, not with.
And what happened in the final? What did Amrabat do to him in the final? By the way.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a great final. Amrabat had a very, very good final. There is no doubt about that. But I also
think what happened in the final against Spain as well? Why couldn't it be Big Bro to Manu, bro?
Well, because England got done by a superior team. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, how did Caicedo do when his nation was in a final?
When was that?
Exactly.
I don't get that question. You're just trying to throw me off. Why are you deflecting? Why can't you answer what he's?
That's not a deflection. Rice didn't have a great final, absolutely, but at the same time,
in fact.
Well, I disagree, but I look at it along the lines of your guy hasn't been in an international final. So if we're comparing the two here, and there are things to criticize Rice about, I would never sit here and say Declan Rice has been perfect in every single game that I've seen him play. There's been loads where he needs to be criticized. What I find really interesting about the England argument is we all were looking at the manager. The manager of England is one of the biggest reasons why we've messed up in 2 finals running. I don't necessarily think it was individuals. I think there was a lack of bravery at times, not enough change being made. They had a plan to stop our midfield. It's been documented. It's been on what they did. And our manager did absolutely nothing to address that and change it. And I think that doesn't help your team when there's we all sit here and you've criticized Maresca 100 times when you've gone, we started the team this way. There was a problem here. He didn't make the change and we couldn't improve. So I agree with you on those takes. I'm not going to undo that when it comes to England. But I look at these situations and I think Caicedo is amazing. I'll never play him down. I'll never slag him off. I'll never underplay it. I think they both have attributes that are better than each other. I think that when it comes to playing 8, you could be right. Caicedo could do it. There's no real consistent proof that he could play at the highest level in an 8 yet. He might be able to do it, absolutely. But I need to see it at least 10 times before I go, yeah, he can play in that 8 role. There's no doubt. But I just
find it funny because the other day when I was speaking to Leas and that, big up Leas, yeah, because I was talking about Rice, he was defending Rice. The whole conversation even went into Rice and Enzo. You know what I mean? And one thing that I said is, I can't lie. Arsenal's left-hand side has been dead ever since Xhaka left. All that fluidity's died. And Leas agreed with me, funny enough. And I asked him, okay, well, who played in that left-hand side, Leas? He said, Havertz. I said, well, after Havertz, who was it that went on the left-hand side, Leas? He just looked at me because he knew I caught him. Yeah. Because we all know that it was Declan Rice that was playing on that left-hand side, right? Well, and regardless of the issue with DNA, hold on, Terry. It's only now that there's a bunch of Arsenal fans that want to be honest about Arteta. Arteta's using him in the wrong role. He's not on 8. He's not on 8. And then there's times I'll come on here and I'll hear about man talk about him as if he's fucking Lampard in that position. And I'm like, I don't know what you lot are watching, but he's not on 8.
This is where I disagree with you, though. We've just spoke about Salah and how it isn't working as much on the right-hand side because Trent isn't there anymore. And I think we'd all agree on that. Xhaka, I think, was a miss to them. But the biggest issue is when Xhaka and that left-hand side were cooking was when Martinelli individually was also having a very, very good time. And Martinelli...
Now it's Martinelli why he can't find it.
Hang on, please let me finish. Please let me finish. We have all sat here, including yourself, because you were the person that spoke about how you wouldn't swap Martinelli for Mykhailo Mudryk. So you yourself have sat here. You yourself has sat here and dug into Martinelli for years. Now you're acting like the left-hand side problem is because of Declan Rice. That left-hand side didn't look like it lacked fluidity when Eze started on the pitch over there for them, and him and Declan Rice were linking up. You could instantly see a difference. Interestingly, since he's been coming on as a substitute, and since Trossard's been playing on that side in the last handful of games, and Martinelli's actually lost his starting place, that left-hand side has started to look a little bit better. This season, Calafiori is doing more overlapping than Miles Lewis-Skelly inverting, and the left-hand side is creating opportunities. Quite a number of the goals have been created from that side.
Yeah, Calafiori is way more comfortable in that little pocket in comparison to Rice. Way more comfortable, bro.
Well, but then that's fine. But again, everybody knows there are different elements. No one is saying that Rice is the most complete footballer in the world and everything he does is absolutely amazing. I don't think anybody has said that.
People do say that. They call him complete.
But I'm not having that debate. We're talking about something separate. For me, I think putting down the issues on that left-hand side, I think trying to place that blame primarily on the side of Rice, I think again is very, very disingenuous.
I never
have ripped into Martinelli for years. Arsenal fans have been calling for him to be dropped for ages. No one disagreed with that. Now the way you word it, like, now you're blaming Martinelli.
Okay. So basically, it's Martinelli's fault. It's Martinelli's fault that in open play this guy can't really thread any passes, right? He ain't really got that eye of a needle pass, right? It's Martinelli's fault that most of his shots go off target, right?
Well, but this isn't.
It's Martinelli's fault.
This isn't true, though. Hang on a minute. But what you're talking about, but what you're saying isn't factually true. What you're saying isn't factually true. Declan Rice is the 3rd highest performer in the Premier League at line-breaking passes in going forward. Only Rodri and Bruno Fernandes.
No. You didn't hear what I said. You didn't hear what I said. I spoke about the creativity. Yeah. Because these guys were trying to compare him to Enzo. Enzo left this guy in the mud. They played in the same position last season. Enzo left this guy in the mud, created way more chances than this guy, especially in open play as well, because Rice takes a lot of those corners, yeah? You've said it yourself, Terry. When it comes to creativity, don't bring Rice to the conversation, yeah? It was clear that Arteta was playing that guy in the wrong position. And it's not to say that Rice is useless there. Like, he's not. He can do all right. Like, he can get a goal or, sometimes he'll create. It's okay there, innit? But okay is not good enough for that position.
Well,
And that's why. Hold on, Terry.
Better than okay. He's much better than okay. Saying he's okay again is you're really underplaying it.
Yeah, no, because I'm looking at Eze there, and that's what I think is banging in that position. Yeah, I'm looking at certain players in that position. That is what I rate in that position. And I'm seeing. You need to remember, Terry. I used to watch this guy. Hold on, Terry.
We're talking across point here, though. Hang on, we're talking, but you're now talking cross points. Hang on, no, I'm not going to let that slide.
We're not talking cross points.
Don, we are talking cross points because now you're talking about an attacking midfielder where we're debating central midfield players. So do I think it's plausible that attacking midfielders are better generally than central midfielders at the creative element in the midfield? Yes, and I would expect that to be the same as I would expect out-and-out defensive midfield players to be better at winning their duels, winning back possession than your typical 8. What Declan Rice is doing is a box-to-box where he can defend well, can hold well, and he can attack to a good level. Their job is to essentially be multifaceted in those 3 places with an air of specialism. And his specialism is a lot of ground covered. He wins the ball back well. He progresses the ball. He carries it at a world-class level. And he's a wizard at crossing and set pieces. I think it would be very disingenuous to expect a central midfielder to have the same level of creativity as an Eze.
No, but that's you're making my point for me, though. You're literally making my point for me. Yes, you are, because my point was always Rice is being played out of position. But then I would have these rattled minions in the chat talking nonsense about what are you talking about? He scored. Or what are you talking about? He got an assist. And I'm like, I know what I'm watching of the guy in over 90 minutes. And I'm not even putting too much heat on Rice right now. I'm looking more at the manager because Arteta is playing him out of position, right? And you've literally just made my argument for me.
No, I don't. I don't think I did make your argument. I'm talking about someone playing. No, well, I didn't. You've misunderstood what I've said, then, my friend. I'm talking about a central.
You just said you wouldn't expect a centre mid to be this to have the same level of output.
I don't expect a central midfielder to create at the same level as an attacking midfielder. I would never have expected when Ozil was at league 10. Well, Enzo Fernandez does not create at the same level as Bruno Fernandes does over the last 5 years, playing an 8 compared to a 10.
Over 5 years. Did you see how... Listen, there was only 5 other players. Hold on. Yeah. There was only 5 other players in the whole of Europe last season that created more chances than Enzo Fernandez, right? Only 5 others in the whole of Europe.
Again, but then what you're doing is you're using a one specific year. When it comes to creativity, if you look at Trent's like an example of an anomaly because of the way he played, but attacking midfielders, I just think, typically speaking, of that. But also Enzo has played a hell of a lot of games in an actual number 10 role when you play 4-2-3-1. That is what Declan Rice hasn't done. So of course I would expect Enzo to create more chances. Hang on, no, don't tell me no when we've all seen him play. Hang on a minute. We've all seen him playing a 10. So it absolutely stands to reason that he would create more chances because when you play 10, that is your role. When you are a box-to-box, your primary role isn't to be a creator. It never has been in the history of football.
Terry,
playing a box-to-box role versus an attacking midfield role.
This is where you're not even looking at how Maresca sets up the team a lot of the time, right? Enzo, most of the time, is playing in the half space. Yeah, you see him on the left half space and Palmer on the right half space. Or you see Palmer in the left half space, Enzo in the right half space. That's predominantly how he played last season. Enzo and Rice last season played a very similar role. They both played as a box-to-box. Last season, Enzo barely played as a 10. Yeah? Even the other day, Enzo wasn't really a 10. Enzo was playing in the left half space, right? He was playing as an 8 last season.
Oh,
and him playing, hold on. And when you're saying, if that's how you view football, you think an 8 isn't supposed to be creating. I'm sorry.
Again, I've got to stop you. Again, I'm stopping you. I did not say an 8 doesn't have to create.
You said that's not their predominant role.
It isn't their predominant role. An 8's job is it's part of their role, and he does that part. But my point is, their job is their job is multifaceted. Their job is to do multiple things. An 8's role isn't the same as what I consider an attacking midfielder to be. And we were talking about the Eze situation. Yes, I expect Eze to be better at creating chances than Declan Rice. I want to jump to these super chats here for a moment.
Before you go into that, right? Because end of the day, right? Even if you go check all the underlying metrics of Rice and Enzo last season, in most areas, even some defensive areas, Enzo has it. People try to tell me, oh, Enzo ain't great off the ball. Hold on, Terry.
I don't think it's true.
But it is true though.
I've
It
got the
is
facts
true.
in front of me, and it's not. Do you want me to put it on the screen?
We can both put them up on the screen. In fact, yeah, from last season. Go on FootMob. Go on FootMob and then compare them. Yeah,
using football. I'm using the one that you showed me, which was data MB, which shows Rice has more key. Last season, Rice has more key passes, more progressive.
Go on FootMob. We can compare the two.
Hang on, let me just finish. He's got more key passes, more progressive passes, more forward passes. Their ball carrying's the same. Possession one's in Declan Rice's favor. Pass the areas that Enzo beats him on, slightly better pass forward completion and slightly better at winning duels. Outside of that, it was much of a... And by the way, I don't think there's a great deal of difference. I'm not making this night and day argument. I'm going to run to these super chats. We're going to run out of time here. This here says Caicedo hasn't even been in the team of the season or Ballon d'Or nomination. That's nonsense. That don't even matter.
Bro, like, I don't know how he didn't even get in there last year. And there was even Arsenal fans that were saying, yo, how the hell did he get into team? How the hell did Rice even get in there, bro? You know what I mean? Anyway, share this. I'm about to show you this. Share this. One
second. I got these super chats. You called Rice's Conference League better because he was with West Ham. Then you say Caicedo didn't reach an international final. Yes, you could. I was being sarcastic. Do you not understand that? It's because people in the comments are saying things like Rice didn't win the World Club Cup, but Arsenal weren't in it, so he can't win it. It was a flippant comment. It wasn't part of serious debate. I'm sorry that you misunderstood it. Don, did you see Saka come straight back from injury and terrorized Real Madrid in the Champions League over 2 games? That game confirmed his class to me.
Mate, I said at the time, he was playing up against a Bruck-up Alaba with strapping around his knee. I didn't really take much from that game, I'll be honest with you, bro. Terry could have done his thing against my man.
Good footballer in my day. Terry, where would you rank Saka in his position? Oh, in the world. I haven't thought about it for a long time. I put him in that world-class category. I think over the last 4 to 5 years, which, well, I've always said this, I like to judge it over a period because form comes into play. He's up there in the top 5. I can't think of 5.
Name your top 3 right wingers.
Right now.
I forgot how my voice sounded like because I haven't spoken like 30 minutes.
Well, right now, top 5 in the world. I would probably right now go with top 3, you say? Over the last 12 months or last 5 years?
Just the last year.
Last year, Yamal, Dembele, Salah. In the last year.
Top 5?
Top 5. Oh, I haven't thought about it. Saka's in my top 5. And I then go Saka. I don't even thought about the fifth option. You caught me on the hop because I haven't really...
we need to get through the super chat here because we need to go through this.
Elise would be a great shout. But like, again, Palmer for me played a lot out on that side as well. And I think Palmer deserves an absolute shout in that. The thing with Palmer and Saka is they spent a lot of last season out injured, not playing very well. Elise would actually be number 4 in the last year. He'd be above Saka because he played the majority of the season.
Elise is better than Saka. I said this time ago and the gal threatened me.
Threatened you? Oh, yeah, I'm not threatened. Me and Don have a debate. Going on here.
That's what I think happens. Elise is better than Saka.
Chelsea always are known for their 8s, Sen, Claude, Kante, now Caicedo. Yeah, Chelsea's midfield is amazing. It really is. Don is such a beg. I don't get that. He's not a beg. Big up.
Not for the peas, man.
Tom Little sleeps in a bunk bed and still plays with action figures. I don't know where that's come from, Ronan. But fair enough. And this here from T, he says that United's next 4 signings should all be midfielders. Maybe. I'd like that.
Manager.
I want you to. Terry, I need to go. Yeah, I need to go. I've got a show coming up. And I need to make a call as well, right?
Yeah.
I want you to share those stats I just sent you, broski, please, from last season.
Where have you sent them?
I sent it to you on Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, on Twitter.
I sent it to you on Twitter.
What, you DM'd it?
I DM'd it to you on Twitter, broski. Yeah.
In
fact, let me even show you more
how passionate Don is about this Caicedo Rice debate.
Nah, because last season, yeah, what I saw from Enzo last season. Only Cucurella and Caicedo were better than him, bro. He had a very good season last year after a slow start. Very good season. Yeah. Pardon?
No, nothing. I thought you were still talking about Caicedo.
He had a very good start, bro. And then yeah, share this as well, Terry. I just sent you 2 things there. Please share that, bro. Because man think I'm capping. Yeah. Do you know what I do find interesting though? It's why don't you use data MB anymore? Because that's what you always used to use when your guy came out on top. Now you're using a different website. I use various.
Do you only share the one where your guy comes out on top statistically?
No. I'm just showing you the FootMob. I'm showing you the FootMob one because you can see all the underlying metrics. Look at this, Staffy. Let me just read them out because Terry ain't even trying to share them right now. Yeah.
No, I'm putting them onto a graphic so they come up neatly on the screen. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, share the underlying ones as well, so you can see.
If I put them up the way you sent them, then it.
Let's see, because a lot of these Arsenal fans are liars as well. They have to lie about our players. You know what I mean? You think it's only you lot with good players, isn't it? Yeah. All I know is if Enzo played for Arsenal, they would not be missing Xhaka, bro. That left-hand side would not be dead. You know what I'm saying, bro? Yeah.
Do you still think that Xhaka is? Do you think Xhaka is better than Declan Rice?
As an 8, yes, I do. I don't really rate Rice as an 8, bro. I think he's a 6 in the pivot. That's his best position. Let's
get these graphics up. I said I'm not ducking them. I'm actually just putting them into actual graphics so they look nice and neat on the screen, as opposed to just.
I don't rate Rice as an 8 like that. I'll be real. I think he's just okay there. That's my standards.
So I'm going to put your ones up on the screen. This ones you've sent me here. So what these ones show, because just if people can zoom in on them, is they demonstrate. Let me just get them up on my screen so nice and big. So it shows defensively, Declan Rice it gets a lot higher than him, but obviously. Shooting accuracy, Enzo Fernandez is 51%. Shots per 90 minutes, he shoots more. Shots on targets is higher. Goals per 90 is higher. Assists per 90, slightly in Declan Rice's favour. But XG and XA is against in his favour and over the game. Big chances missed. Enzo's missed more big chances than Declan Rice, which obviously goes in his favour. Accurate passes per 90 minutes, 45 versus 42. Successful dribbles per 90, 0.4979 versus 0.44. And accurate long balls, he plays He plays an extra accurate long ball. What does this not show though? Like the ball carrying and where's the key passes per game?
Yeah, successful dribbles there per 90. You know what I mean? That's part of it.
Isn't again because it's so when you look at the different statistics. So when you look at this here, yellow is got so this shows you obviously the ball carrying is very similar. But when you look at the progress, so yes, your player is completing more passes.
Rice.
Yes, but when Rice is in blue. This is last season I did this for. So yes, you'll show better pass completion. But does it show? And this is why I think stats need to be looked at along with the eye test, and that's why I like using different websites because you might have more passes completed, but how many of them are forward versus backwards? How many break lines? How many are actually progressive? Because if I play 50 non-impactful passes at 95% pass completion, that might read good in those stats. But if somebody else has got 10% less pass completion, but they're breaking more lines because they're taking more risks, I consider that person a better passer.
Terry, what is let's go back to the theme of this show, honesty, right? I don't understand how you can look at last season, you can see no one in the Prem created more chances than Enzo Fernandez and Palmer as a combination, right? I've already told you, in the whole of Europe, only 5 other players, I think I was including Bruno in fact, created more chances than Enzo, right? He scored many goals, bro, that were equalizers, that were winners, yeah? He was influencing games. He was better than Palmer last season in terms of his performances in games. He was better than Palmer, and this was in the new role that he learned, basically. Yeah. So I don't know how you can look at all of these things and still say, "Oh, Rice had a better season." Start of last season.
I didn't say he had a better season.
Hold on, sorry.
The one challenge I have back for you is that I know you're doing this whole prop for like Enzo, but you were the guy only 2 shows ago that was saying that you think you've got to drop him from your team now.
I said he hasn't had the greatest start, and if Santos starts the next game, I wouldn't be mad at it. Is what I said. You know what I mean? But again, I've been consistent about Enzo. Terry,
you spoke about how Caicedo, you're going to treat Caicedo differently because of how important he is to your team, which isn't fair. That's your view. Well, England fans and Arsenal fans don't want to see Declan Rice drop because of how important we as in England and they as in Arsenal see him being. But you're the one out here calling for this guy who you think so good to be dropped from your team. And it was a very big comment that you made. So I don't even know how much you really back Enzo Fernandez when it was only a couple of games ago you wanted him dropped.
Not horses for courses, bro. Like, you know, he didn't have to start off the season great. And like I said to you, Santos came off the bench and played really well. So if Santos started the game, you know how much I like Santos. I've been telling you about this guy from time. I wouldn't be mad at it. And if Enzo comes off the bench and performs and starts the following game, so be it, right? Football is not it's not everything has to be nice. You know, sometimes certain men have got to come out. Like, you've already seen this season. There's certain games Rice hasn't started. Yeah. I can think of the game against Forest. Yeah, Rice didn't start that game. These guys look so fluid. Yeah, I wonder why. People. You know what I mean? But I've got to cut, Terry, because I've got a show in 5 minutes.
The show's over now anyway. Listen, I want to thank everyone that's tuned in. If you're watching over on X, get yourself across here. We'd love to get you some of your comments on this show and everything else with our community. Don, always a pleasure. Staffy, always great, my bro, to come on and speak to our super chatters and everyone else who's involved with the show. Absolutely amazing. Go and support MHF. They're live a little bit later. This is going to redirect you across that. So go and support my bros over there. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'm going to see you all again very, very soon. Peace.